afternoon and welcome to First Financial Biz Beat, presented by the Business Courier. I'm Kyla Woods. Well, we're heading into one of the busiest travel seasons of the year as the pandemic worsens. And while airlines are anticipating an uptick in traffic, the number of people flying will simply be far less than past years. On the front page centerpiece this week, the future of flight, what it will take to get CVG back in business. Passenger air traffic took a nosedive in the spring, and CVG was no exception. Seat capacity is down 40%, just a touch below the nationwide average. Industry analysts think it will be 2024 before things rebound. CEO Candace McGraw is more optimistic. She thinks they'll be back to full strength a year earlier. Chris Wetterick looks at how CVG comes back from COVID with Courier editor Rob Dahmeyer.
Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rob.
Great story in this week's print edition, weekly edition on the airport, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport. Like every airport in the country, just got wrecked in March, starting in March. But maybe you can get a little more specific. What exactly has the CVG been dealing with for the last 10 months?
So, just to back up a little bit, CVG was doing great for a long time. They were setting monthly records on passengers, and they became more and more a locally focused airport, which was a long-term goal of CVG CEO Candace McGraw. And so they were doing very well until the pandemic hit. Like everybody else, they lost more than 90% of their traffic. And so they've been trying to recover from that ever since. And so they're in the kind of same pickle as a lot of other airports. They think they're in a slightly better position just because of the amount of ultra low cost carriers they have, plus Southwest, of course. So they're very hopeful about recovering, and their point is, look, we've grinded this out before. We've been in a tough position, and look at how we built the airport. Candace McGraw says we will do that again.
So they're not going to just kind of wait around and hope things get better. They're going to try to be proactive. What are some of the steps that CVG leaders and McGraw have told you that they're going to do to win back flights?
Two major things come to mind. First, they've really taken a scalpel to the budget, and they've cut it by 20%. One of the great quotes in there, Candace McGraw says, we're eating ramen noodles now. We're not eating steak and chicken anymore. We're eating ramen noodles. So they've been real conscientious. They jumped on that budget right away. So that's the first thing. The other thing is they want to make sure that they're competitive by having landing fees that are low or at least at the size of our other airports kind of in the region. As you know, Rob, Cincinnati is a little unusual in that we have such close proximity to Dayton, Indianapolis, Columbus, Louisville. These are all airports within an hour-and-a-half drive. And what CVG kind of hopes to do is to keep the passengers here and keep them here by offering destinations that those other airports don't have. So they want to make sure their landing fees are in line or lower than those regional airports around us.
So let's finish on this. Delta, once upon a time, was a hub. It was actually the second largest hub that Delta had in the world. Or at least nationally, I should say. They have been scaling that back over the last couple decades, but you can't talk about CVG without talking about Delta. What is Delta's status right now, and what are they telling you about as they start to look at adding flights back, what that means for CVG?
Yeah, we talked to Delta when they were in town for this big airport airline conference a few weeks ago, and they were pretty candid with us about it. They said that they have a lot of cities still that are business focused cities, and those flights are not running because businesses are not traveling. And the upshot of that is that when businesses do start to travel again, they hope to reestablish those flights. We may not get every flight that comes back. I asked specifically about St. Louis. St. Louis was kind of a low performing route for them, even before the pandemic. And basically what Delta officials said was, look, if the companies in Cincinnati that needed to get to St. Louis, if they resume their travel there, it's likely that we will reestablish St. Louis flights. If they don't, then we're not going to have that flight. And so Delta has a mix of leisure and business destinations, but they've been very business focused. So Delta's comeback here will depend on what our local companies decide to do in terms of travel going forward.
Yeah, well, we will certainly be, I know you will be writing a lot more about this as Delta continues to make decisions in the year ahead. It's a fascinating story that you wrote for the weekly edition. A lot of really cool maps that kind of look at each carrier's the flights that they've suspended, the flights that they're still doing, and you can get a really clear picture as to what's going on right now as we still deal with COVID, but there's an end in sight, and hopefully CBG will start to feel some of that traffic come back. But thank you very much. Great story, Chris, and I appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rob and Chris. Well, those months of progress are now being threatened because the pandemic is getting worse. Cases are exploding in every state across the country, shattering records daily. And in just 3 weeks, the number of daily infections has doubled. And it's forcing mayors and governors, Ohio included, to impose tougher restrictions, including potential shutdowns. Bars and restaurants are in the crosshairs.
I'd be the first one to say shut down if I felt that restaurants were causing the problem or part of the problem. But I wholeheartedly believe that restaurants are part of the solution. There's growing concern that taking restaurants out of the equation will actually cause an influx and a surge in COVID cases.
Can we survive it? I don't know. I'm actually most concerned with can my employees survive? If, God forbid, we have to put a portion or all of them on unemployment again right before the holidays, it's asking a lot.
Yeah, and there is some good news. Pfizer says early trial results show its vaccine is more than 90% effective. The vaccine requires 2 doses, and before it can even seek FDA approval, the company has to study the effects of the second dose of the vaccine. Pfizer says that milestone should be reached later this month.
It feels to me as a physician scientist that this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, medical advance in the last 100 years.
Pfizer CEO says when the vaccine becomes available, it will be free. More businesses could face unexpected trouble because both the Brent Spence Bridge and Roebling bridges are closed. 2 semis collided overnight Wednesday, creating a fiery scene on the Brent Spence Bridge. The aftermath, nothing but ash and twisted metal. Because of that, the bridge, used by 160,000 vehicles every day, will be shut down for weeks, if not months. Engineers and inspectors are surveying to see just how much damage was done, and that will take time.
We all appreciate, as the governor said, that traffic patterns are seriously disrupted today. I want the public to know that we understand this, and we will work tirelessly. Let me say that again. We are working tirelessly to get the Brent Spence back in operation. We know just how important this is to the people of Northern Kentucky and to the commercial corridor and the economy through this area.
Once the inspection is finished, the repair plan depends on how hot the fire got and how long it raged. The Roebling was closed because truckers were not abiding by the 167-year-old bridge's weight limit. For the second time in 9 months, a sitting Cincinnati City Council member is arrested for bribery. This time, it's Republican Jeff Pastor. Federal investigators say Pastor sold his vote on 2 development deals, pocketing $55,000. The feds say they were disguised as donations to a nonprofit.
This indictment is indicative of a culture of corruption that we have and we need to address. A culture of extortion, a culture of pay to play.
Pastor has no plans to resign from council, and there's no provision in the city charter requiring city employees to do so. His arrest comes 2 weeks before former council member Tamaya Denard is to be sentenced for wire fraud. There's a truce in the Beverly Hills Supper Club redevelopment fight. There will be no construction on the site of the Cabaret Room. That area will be left untouched for a memorial fountain. It still needs city approval, but it appears to end a months-long fight over the future of the site where 165 people died in a 1977 fire. Apartments, homes, and senior living will be built there. Well, up next on First Financial Biz Beat, the former jail being turned into the area's newest barbecue joint. How it'll also break a few barbecue rules. You'll soon be able to have a barbecue feast in an old jail. This former jail in California near Coney Island will soon be pig candy. It'll feature barbecue mainstays like pulled pork, smoked turkey, and ribs. The big change up will be the sides. They will be healthier than your typical barbecue joint. Things like sweet potato cauliflower mash, vegetable pasta salad, and spinach quinoa. After a pandemic-related delay, one of America's most anticipated restaurants is now open downtown. Cora is in the recently opened Kinley Hotel at 7th and Race. What sets this place apart from others is the key menu ingredients, ancient grains.
We really got to a point where we were thinking about all these different grains. We really wanted to highlight them because they all have different flavor profiles, and just finding different ways to accentuate the flavors, make kind of a unique and new experience.
And on top of the grain-centric dishes, there's also a New York strip with black truffle, a dry-aged beef tartare with sauerkraut kimchi, and whole wheat from 16 bricks with carrot butter, radish, pickled kohlrabi, and mint, and a French onion dip with caviar and Saratoga chips. Cora is open Monday through Saturday. A century-old Northern Kentucky establishment is getting new owners. Butch and Marianne Wainscott sold the Greyhound Tavern after more than 30 years of operation. The Fort Mitchell staple is known for its fried chicken and other southern sides, like the Kentucky Hot Brown. Back in the day, it was located at the end of the line for streetcars. The new owner is One Holland Group, a company based in Taylor Mill. A few years ago, Sarah Brown changed course in her career. She decided to launch a podcast. And now, Failing Forward is one of Apple's top business podcasts. She talked about how she's using it to inspire people with Courier Market Engagement Director Kelly Snyder.
Thanks, Kyla. Sarah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you have a successful podcast called Failing Forward, and you've been doing it since 2017. You're on episode 70. So what compelled you to create the new program?
So I knew there was a service that I wanted to offer along with the podcast, but frankly, I wasn't really sure what it was. And when I started the podcast, I really didn't know where it would take me. I just knew that I wanted to be able to help others learn from the people that they knew in their community. So Failing Forward is very much around local successful people and how they overcame. And so I kind of was open to whatever the universe or God was going to bring me. And I had a number of people say, hey, do you think you could offer some coaching along with the podcast? And I did have coaching clients, but I hadn't connected the two. And so Move Forward sort of came from that.
So why now?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm sure you and all of our listeners right now or watchers have read that COVID is really impacting people. And there's an opportunity to find wonderful things, like spending time with self, like journaling, like, all the self-help, self-improvement opportunities, especially because mental health is so important today. So I think it actually came because of things that were happening around the world. And I'm just trying to respond to that. So what's cool about the program is that Move Forward Crew is actually a community. So you get one-on-one coaching from me, but you also get this community where you can learn from one another, support one another, give feedback to one another, encourage one another. And then I've also mixed it in with a curriculum that includes understanding self. So we use the Enneagram, we use podcast episodes, and it's really personalized for each person. So each person chooses what is something that I want to get unstuck around. For some people, it's a career. For others, it goes a little bit deeper around not feeling good enough or not having confidence. And these are people that you would look at, Kelly, and you'd be like, I cannot believe that they are struggling with that. So it's been a labor of love and some really great outcomes from it. And we just want to share it more with others.
That's great. So I know that you're sold out right now. Might you offer another program at some point?
Yeah, so we've decided to open up another one in January. So it starts January 12th. It's 10 weeks. So you do 1 week of a training module for 60 minutes. You have homework. The next week, you're with your crew. So you have the peer-to-peer coaching, and we alternate. So we keep content in there, and then you it with your small group. And I will say, when we think about our target audience, when we think about the people that are going through it right now, it's people who are interested in more than what they have today. They're not willing to settle, but they are the people that are learners, they're determined, and it's really great to see some of the successes that have come out of this. One person, can I tell you this really quickly?
Of course.
One person loves to paint, and she never felt good enough painting. And so she set a goal that she was going to paint every single day for at least 30 minutes. She posted a painting that she did on social media, and the response that she got was incredible. So overcoming a fear like that, or it could be overcoming fear around finding a new career. So those are the kinds of examples that we have.
That's great. All right, so people can visit your website, and you're interested in joining in January, but thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Back to you, Kyla.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Well, coming up next, the Reds finally have a Cy Young winner. Just how much money it will likely take to keep him around. The Reds, the oldest franchise in American professional team sports, finally have their first ever Cy Young winner. Trevor Bauer led the league in ERA and strikeouts per 9. And when the team needed a big game from a pitcher, he delivered every time. And it's about what's next for Bauer, who is a free agent. Cincinnati won't have the most cash to offer, but it will have sentiment.
It's been a really enjoyable experience. I've been treated very well. Hopefully they feel that I've treated them very well as well. My teammates, the front office, everybody there. It's been a very good relationship. I'd love to be back and to see my guys, to see Kurt, to see Tucker on a daily basis, to see Sonny, see Michael Lorenzen, see Lucas Sims. I could name a bunch of different people, obviously.
And Bauer rejected the Reds' $19 million one-year qualifying offer last week. But as you heard, he isn't against coming back to Cincinnati. The 30-year-old has said in the past that he will only sign one-year deals. The organizers of the popular Blink Light and Art Festival have plans for a month-long holiday celebration. It will include art installations from the banks through downtown and over the Rhine. The festival, which will be called Found, will run from November 27th through Christmas Eve. There will also be a citywide scavenger hunt with a $5,000 prize. And here's all you need to know about our next guest and her jams. Those who've had them say their only recommendation is that no matter what you order, double it. And joining us this morning is the woman behind those tasty creations, Florence Malone. Flo, I'm so happy to have you with us today.
I am happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, tell us about Urban Flow's Kitchen and why you decided to focus specifically on jams and jellies.
So the reason why I decided to focus on jams and jellies, one, because everyone enjoys them, but two, I was a urban gardener in the West End, and I had started doing canning products, and I said, well, what could I make with these fruits and vegetables that I were producing that everybody would enjoy? And I came up with, well, jam and jelly.
Yeah.
Also, it's a lost art. Canning in general is a lost art, and making jam and jellies is a lost art. So you don't hear about too many women in today's age making jams and jellies.
Yeah, and we used to hear about it a lot, though. I'm really glad you mentioned that. I think especially in the Black community and minority communities, you saw more of that farming, more of women preserving items like jams and jellies. So tell us about, we have the holidays coming up. What are some of your favorite ways to see and use jams and jellies in holiday spreads?
So I'm so very excited when the holiday comes because there's one flavor, two flavors that we only make once a year. One is cranberry and the other is cranberry pepper. And so I tell people, instead of buying cranberry sauce for the holidays, buy our cranberry jam. Cranberry pepper, it is a combination of cranberries, jalapeno peppers, cloves, and cinnamon. So it's a very savory product. I ask people to try it on their turkey sandwiches, to use it as a reduction and use it as a marinade for their meats. Even if the Christmas time, if you're gonna make a cheese ball, what my family and I like to do, we mix it with cream cheese and we put it out and use it as a spread. So this is just not the regular jam and jelly. This jam and jelly is more than peanut butter and jelly. It's gourmet jam and jelly that you can use as a meat marinara. You can use as a spread. my strawberry jalapeno, people even use that to coat their chicken wings with.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yes.
I would never think to do that. So you have so many options when you're using these jams and jellies. And I know all natural is very important to you, the health benefits to your body when you're eating things like jams and jellies. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of being able to pronounce the ingredients in something and, you know, why we should pay attention to food labels?
Right. Well, so for me, I am a grandmother of 7, and one of the things that always concerns me is what my grandchildren are putting in their body. And as we know, children love jam and jelly. So one of the, I don't want to say hang-ups, but one of the big things that I like to make sure that people know, everything that you see on the label of my jar is what is actually in the product, and everything that you see, you can pronounce. It's important when we're talking about food labels to be able to pronounce and understand exactly what it is that we're putting in our bodies.
Yeah, it's so important. Well, first of all, anyone who just heard you say you're a grandmother of 7 is in shock right now. Their chin is probably on the floor, because at this point, we're all like, how do I achieve what? It's the jams and jellies. That's what it is. It's the jams and jelly. So what's next for Urban Flow's Kitchen?
Well, so right now, as you know, we went through the mortar program, and I was a graduate, and we got a slow start because I was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. I'm in remission right now, and so we're looking forward to the future with developing more products. We have been working on some chutneys, we have been doing mixed spices, and we've just been working on getting our website together and everything, so we can make sure that people have access to these wonderful products that we have.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful you shared that. You know, I know that you're in remission. We're so thankful that now, you know, it's an upswing. It's getting refocused and saying, okay, how do we continue to bring Urban Flow's Kitchen to the market?
Right.
So if people want to order, which I know they do, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So right now, you can go to Facebook. We have an Urban Flow's Kitchen page, or you can email me at urbankitchen100@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Florence Malone, Urban Flow's Kitchen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to having some during the holidays.
I brought you some.
Okay. Oh, don't eat. Okay, so now we got to get through the rest of the show so that I can get to the jams and jellies. Thank you, Flo. Well, thank you again. Oh, look at that. It's almost time. Thanks for joining us for First Financial Biz Beat. I'm going to the jams and jellies, of course. For business news around the clock, visit CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook and sign up for our daily emails. I'm Kyla Woods. I hope you have a wonderful and safe weekend.